Quadratics, quadratic formula. Remember that the standard form of quadratic equation or quadratic equations is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a does not equal 0. We can factor quadratic equations to find the zeros, also known as roots. But not all quadratic equations can be factored. So how can we find the zeros of those equations? Luckily, we have the quadratic formula. Which uses the coefficients a, b, and c. The formula is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. The quadratic formula can be used to find zeros of all quadratic equations for which they exist. So factoring only works on equations that can be factored. Quadratic formula always works. But for some quadratic equations, there are no zeros. And example 3 will be just like that. So we're going to look at example 1 here. Use the quadratic formula to solve the equation. So I'm going to make sure that we have our quadratic formula visible over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight my A, B, and C. So my A is going to be 12. My B is going to be the negative 4. And my C is going to be that negative 7. Whoops, I need to notice that there's an A there also. All right, so in my quadratic formula, I have x equals negative, that's this blue right here, b, and b is negative 4. I'm going to put that in parentheses. It's important to put that in parentheses there. Make sure you do. Plus or minus the square root of b squared. B is negative 4. Again, put that in parentheses. Otherwise, you can run into some trouble as you're working on this. Minus 4 times A is 12, times C is negative 7. And you want to make sure that that square root goes clear over the top of all of those. And that's all over 2A, and again, A is 12. Now, what you can do at this point is just open up your calculator and input that entire thing right into the calculator. That works just fine. So I'm going to bring the calculator over here. I'm going to need to make it a little bit smaller here. And we're going to use the alpha y equals to get the fraction, and negative parentheses, negative 4 parentheses, and I'm going to do plus first. You can't do these at the same time. Square root. So the square root is second x squared right there. Negative 4 in parentheses. Oh, that's supposed to be squared. Shoot, just about, that's a b squared. Glad we noticed that. So that's going to be b squared minus 4 times A is 12, times C is negative 7. And all of that is over 2A, which is 12. And then I can just hit enter. And so this says that x is approximately equal to 0.95. I'm going to round to the hundredths place right there. So I look at the thousandths. And because it's 5 or greater, I round up on that. Okay, now that's when we use the plus right here. So when this plus right here, now we need to do it with a subtraction. So I go up, I basically copy it, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to change that addition to subtraction, overwrite it, and now we get, or x is approximately equal to negative 0.62. And those are our answers. All right, example 2 here. Notice there is no b value here. Well, there is. We have 10x squared minus or plus 0x or minus 0x, it doesn't matter, minus 1 equals 0. So again, I'm going to use my colors here. So I have x is equal to negative b, b is 0, plus or minus the square root of b squared, 0 squared, minus 4 times a. A is the 10. I should highlight that. 10 is a. 10. B is 0, and C is the negative 1. So we have a b squared minus 4 times a, and the a is 10, times c. C is negative 1, and again I need to make sure that square root goes clear over the top, over 2 times a, 2 times 10. All right, so, oh no, there you go. If you want to pause real quick and have a look at that, sorry about that. So again, we can do alpha y equals to get the fraction. And I don't need to put negative 0. That's just 0. So I'm just going to start with the square root. It's going to be positive. Positive 0 squared. So I'll do that just because I don't want to confuse the situation here. Minus 4 times 10 times negative 1 over 2 times 10. And so the result is x is approximately 0.32, or, so I'm going to go up and I'm going to copy that, and paste it, and go back in. And now what I need to do is I need to move in front of this, so I'm going to insert, make it a negative. There we go. And so now, or x is approximately negative 0.32. So those are my solutions there. So if you have a situation where there is like no x term here, then it's just a 0x. If we had an x term but no c value, then c would be 0. All right. All right, so now I'm going to require you, or hope that maybe you have that memorized, that quadratic formula. Probably you don't. X equals negative, and we're going to do these. Here's our A, here's our B, here's our C. X equals negative B. And so this is a great example here because we have our negative, but our B is negative 3. So this is going to be negative 3 inside parentheses, which that's really just a positive 3. Plus or minus the square root of b squared. So again, our b is negative 3. B squared minus 4 times A is 5, times C is 6. And extend that square root. My fraction, all that stuff goes in the numerator, over 2 times A is 5. Using our calculator. Man, these calculators are great. If you don't have a calculator like this, well, you can use the Desmos graphing calculator will also work. Plus the square root of b squared, b is negative 3, squared, minus 4 times a is 5, times c is 6, all of that is over 2a, where a is 5. So that comes out to be, non-real answer. So the problem here is that under our square root here, let's just look at that. So I'm going to copy that square root right here. I'll just put it down. No, I'll do the whole thing. So we have x is equal to, this is a positive 3 plus or minus the square root. Negative 3 squared, that's 9, minus, and then 4 times 5, that's 20, times 6 is 120. So we're subtracting 120 over 10, because 2 times 5 is 10. So now we have x is equal to 3 plus or minus the square root of negative 111 over 10. And right here, this is the problem. We cannot have the square root of a negative number, so this means there are no solutions. So there are no zeros to this equation, because this creates a problem right here. Whenever you have a square root of a negative number, no answers. There are no solutions. So in this situation, there are no solutions to our original equation right here. No x values will make that true. And that is quadratic formula.